how do you instill discipline their kids in using gadgets? At what age did you start letting them use gadgets?
Technical. Okay, so I have a husband who's very techy. So it's quite hard when you have iPads and all these stuff lying around. So what I do first is you have to discipline the parent. Okay. So
Your oldest child.
yeah. So I have to remind my husband.
Send this to Doug right now.
Yeah, you can. So
Discipline the parent.
so I make sure to remind my children that you are actually, you know what? If I'm around, you won't see them hold an iPad because the first thing I'm gonna say, or a phone, the first thing I'm gonna say, why are you holding that? Why are you not holding your book? Don't you want to draw, or get something else to entertain yourself? But every now and then, see, I'm the more strict one, and Doug is the more lenient one. So it's a good balance. But yeah, well, my kids started holding an iPad young, okay, to be honest. And the discipline in it, also when the digital cocaine book came out, and then there was a talk as well about it, that's when we started seriously reassessing how we make them spend time in using their iPad. So I would say that I would allow them maybe like 30 minutes for Kendra. That's quite long, yeah. I make her look at it. You know why? Because she also what she does is she looks through Pinterest and she has like ideas. She designs certain things and then she collaborates all of those. I allow her and I'm beside her. I said, okay, you can take pictures. What are you taking pictures? I'm gonna send it because I'm gonna send it to Tita Cher because we collaborate on designing and stuff like that. So I allow her. But with Scarlett and Gavin, they're not really allowed to. In fact, the time that we spend is actually more on watching movies, lesser on looking at the iPad and the phone. Yeah.
And do you employ specific disciplinary style to specific child?
Yeah, for every child, different way of disciplining. Scarlett, you cannot raise your voice when you discipline her. You must talk to her and explain things. Kendra, on the other hand, is also very different in such a way that you can pressure her and to her pressure is good. Gavin is in between Kendra and Scarlett. So for every child, it's a different way of speaking to them, talking to them. Even their language of love is different. And all these things you get to uncover the more time you spend with them. That's why I'm sure also for Edric, time is very important because you cannot discipline a child who doesn't know you because to them they will come back to you in rebellion because this is a parent who doesn't spend time with me and a parent who doesn't know me, and so you're not speaking their language of love, whatever it is, so you cannot communicate. And most parents, that's what they always ask me. How come your kids are so disciplined? How come you can speak to them that way? My daughter hasn't responded to me. It's because have you been spending time? Have you been talking? Or are all the talks just about pointing out their mistakes or their flaws? So for me, instilling discipline is the time that you give them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Are there any other questions? Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. Arvin Adina from the Philippine Daily Inquirer. I have a question for Mr. Biswanath. Can you tell us how you chose the respondents for the online study?
I can get back to you with that information on how it was. I think some of the information was shared. Can you populate that, show that slide on how it was chosen and who was chosen? But I can give you, if there is a little technical, I can give you the specific response on that, how they were chosen. But it was meant to get a very good representation. And there were some the systems that we used. We used the Goldberg's 50 atomic markers questionnaire and the model of intelligence, how parents define learning that was used. your question was specifically on how did we choose these parents, right? So I will have to get back to you on that information on how we chose parents.
Thank you.
Get back to you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Yes, go ahead.
To the two parents there, question for those parents who have kids who are already addicted to gadgets. What are your thoughts on this, and how? What advice would you give them to help? You know, if didn't have time before, but now they do, but their kids are already really addicted and they're having a really hard time getting the kids off technology, and they're young, 4, 5, 6 years old. I've seen a kid hit their mom with the phone or the iPad when the parent tries to get away the gadget. How would you advise that they handle this?
Yeah. So that same book that Jessica was quoting, I suggest, even for Joel's question about discipline and digital, get a copy. Brad Huddleston, he talks about the 3 signs that our children are digitally addicted, even us as adults. The first is anger. So you remove the thing, it's irrational. The second is anger, you have anxiety, like, I want to go and play because I haven't gone. And then the third, which is the saddest, and which we have seen has been a strong reason why people are going in the teen years into depression and suicide even, is anhedonia. At a certain point, you don't feel anything because you kept getting your high from digital, and each time you get your high, it's raised higher. That's what the research shows from the research on the brain in that particular book. So how do you pull them away? If they're already addicted and you see those 3 signs, whether you're an adult or a child, it prescribes what's called digital detox. 6 weeks, no gadgets. And I'm able to say this with a smile because we did this in our home. Yaya's driver, 5 kids, wala pa yung baby at that time, and both of us parents. No gadgets, no movies, no screens for 6 weeks. It is grueling. I work, so I had to find workarounds to that, all the things I was engaged in. But the 6-week digital detox is forced to help the addicts, like any detox program, to experience withdrawal symptoms at first, and then start to stabilize, and have this, I will use the words of my daughter, or my son. He said, because we're now able to do this, Dad, Mom, I'm able to spend more time with my brothers. And I'm loving this whole experience, because if you're not on your gadgets, which is a very individual activity, they have to collaborate and learn to play and engage and enjoy each other. But it takes time. It will probably take about a week for all the bad withdrawal symptoms to come out, even us as adults. But after the first week, and you're able to work your rhythms around it, you will see breakthroughs and clarity, even in the way they look at you. When you look at your children's eyes, my youngest daughter, who was the most addicted, she was 4 years old, she was always on her gadget because we wanted to do the digital pacifier. Just use your gadget, we're so busy. When she started to wean from the gadgets, and we would look at her eyes, she would say, "Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad," with eyes so expressive, and we'd be able to engage her. So for our whole family, when we asked, was it worth it? You ask all of our kids, they will say, definitely. In fact, they want to do it again. So that's how I suggest you break out of it. You have to make a hard and fast stand as a family. Guys, digital detox. And as Jessica said, parents need to model it also. So if you're working and you need to be with your gadget, you have to find practical workarounds to that. Maybe like I said, you want to do time blocks where it's very predictable and disciplined, as opposed to you're always dependent on it and your kids are like, well, why are we doing this? And you're not. Does that make sense? So that's how I would suggest to break free from digital addiction, whatever the age. It is powerful.
Well, since Edric already did it and experienced it as children, I would have to agree with him. And I guess, just like what he said, when there's an addicted child, well, the first thing the parent should do is to set your foot down. It's really hard, it's really difficult, but then we have to set our foot down and then start building also our relationship with them. Meaning, the time that they spend on their gadgets is time away from you. So the time away from you, now you have to give time back to them.
Good, very good.
Yeah, so for me, build on that time back. What can you both do together? What can you do to make your child look at you and look forward to spending time with you. So that will have to be my advice, or what I think personally I would work on.
Let me just jump in with some practical things. So we would go biking outdoors, old school stuff. We would go and play outside. We would go and do board games with the children, ask them their interests outside of digital, and they realize there is a world outside of digital that can actually exist, even in just that window.
You know, it's so funny because I would see parents say, in just a wink of an eye, my children are all grown up. Exactly. With just a wink of an eye, they're all grown up. Would you waste that time with them just looking at their iPads, or spending that time maybe physically with you but mentally and emotionally away from you? So make those times worth it. And that's where you also, again, going back, instill the discipline, instill the values. It's when you're there emotionally with them.
Kaya? 6 weeks? Kaya. Buong bahay. So movies aren't included, right? So obviously because
I'll have to tell them that.
That's hard. Yeah.
I'll have to tell my husband that. Because that's one of their big bonding moments is movies. Ako, I can. You know, actually, my phone is always on silent. Always on silent. My husband always tells me, why does it take you so long to reply? And then, you know, when I look at my phone, it's like 20 babes there. Babe, 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 babe. I'm like, why do you message me that way? It's because you don't reply. And I always tell him, it's because when I'm home, I'd rather keep my phone on silent, especially when I'm homeschooling my kids. Because if my phone rings and it's my friends calling me up, wala na, my mind's out of my homeschooling duties. So, silent na lang, and that can wait.
Let me encourage you, nothing good comes easy.
Yes.
I think that's a value we need to be able to help instill also, guys. If you want the benefit of this, hey, it's not going to be overnight, because it's been years for some, maybe many years, that you're so deeply entrenched into the addiction, like any addiction, right? So.
All right, so last question. Thank you very much for that question.
Question for Mr. Biswana. What should be doing? Do you have specific programs to go up with the insights?
Yeah, so this is a recent insights study that we did, and everything that the study showed us that we are on the right track in building what we have been doing, and the fact that the combination of digital enablement that we have in our products, which is the PCs, and the linking of that with our digital printing capabilities that we have with our printers, is actually going to be enhanced further. And we are creating a way by which people can print with so much ease. In the past, when you had a printer, just connecting to that printer was a nightmare for me. How do I get this content to be printed out of that printer? We've made it so easy now. You can have content in your phone, and that phone has a camera, and all you need is an app from HP called HP's Smart App. And with that, you could actually be scanning a document and then looking for a printer nearby, because almost all of our printers are Wi-Fi enabled, and they can themselves act as a network source. So you can connect to that printer and shoot that printer from your phone onto that. So ease of print is something which we are working on. So when somebody sees a content and they want to see that in printed form, we want to make it so seamlessly and easily possible. And not just across a printer which is in your line of sight. Suppose you're in a different location. You are seeing something that you want, a document that you want to have with you. We make that document accessible in the internet, it's available, but you want that to be printed out as you reach home or you reach your office. You can shoot it through the network, and we made it easy for doing that. So what we're doing specifically is, one is enabling the content in the PCs, which are education version PCs that we have, which come with all the books in that, all the information preloaded in the PCs, and then we make it all of this available to be easily printed out on our printers in physical form as well, wherever we want. So each and everything that we are doing today is based on what insights we have gathered in the past. Now we've got fresh insights. We'll be putting this to use. People used to keep their printers under the table before. Now the printers are looking better. Printers are getting smaller. These are, they come from the back of the office to actually being sitting in the living room. We have printers that will be future or today released in other countries which come with voice activation like Alexa or Google and say you search information and you print from it. So you speak to it, you can print the information. Printing the weather output and things like that. So all of these studies actually help us to come up with products in the future. There are existing solutions, but with this new study, we have new insights, and our new insights will be followed with new things that can be expected in our printing solutions. So as I said, getting our people ready for the future. We don't know what the future is going to be, but we are studying the trend now and then getting prepared for the future.
All right, with that, that's a great way to end things actually. With that, we'd like to thank all of our panelists.